Saram all, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to our monthly inspirational channel. And today we are bringing our another alumnus from Sri Satya Institute of Higher Learning, brother Bharat or Dr. Bharat Dutt. Dr. Bharat Dutt was drawn into Bhagavan's presence for 12 years from 1982 to 1994, spanning 11th grade to his master's in bioscience at Prashanthi. Following post-graduation, he worked as faculty and later at the Sri Satya Institute of Higher Medical Sciences in Puttaparthi. During his time, he was an integral part of the Bhakti Bhajan group, singing bhajans in front of Swami daily from 1984 to 1994. Bharat was also a part of a number of devotional musical programs performed at Guru Purnima, Mahashivaratri, Swami's birthday, and various other festivals and major occasions at Patti. He played in many recordings, performances, including Ramakatha and Sai Katha, and background music for many dramas directed by the Lord himself. With Swami's blessings, he also had the opportunity to accompany on the harmonium great artists like M.S. Subbulakshmi, P. Susila, P. Leela, Malaysian Vasudevan, Pandit Jasraj, and Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, etc. Many famous artists whom he accompanied while they're giving a performance in front of Swami. He also accompanied the jazz trumpeter Maynard Ferguson and the piano and accordion. Bharat has great passion for the bhajan genre and the fusion of Western and Hindustani to augment devotion. He has also sang and produced 3 bhajan albums, Echoes of the Past, Eternal Quest, and My Soul at Your Lotus Feet. Currently resides in New Orleans, Louisiana. He is from our region only and is the Director of Perfusion Services at the Children's Hospital of New Orleans. With this brief introduction, I would request Bharat to take over. Welcome, Bharat.
Thanks, Murli, and Sai Ram to everyone. I will start with calling Bhagwan as usual with a sloka. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara. Sakshat Para Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tasmai Shri Sai Ram Pranam at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Our respected elders, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, thank you for this opportunity to remember the Lord. I want to start with a disclaimer. It was 1989 and we were driving from Ooty to Kodaikanal in the bus just before Bandipur Forest. Bhagwan stopped his car, his red Mercedes-Benz, got out and climbed on to our bus. And as we trundled along, we stopped at a crossroad village, and one of the boys pointed out to Bhagwan, Swami, look, they are folding their hands in front of your car, but you're sitting with us. So he looked at the boy and he said, son, you can have as many zeros as possible. If there is no one behind them, there is no number. Therefore, the moral of this story is, you are a zero and I am a hero. So here's my disclaimer. I'm here to share some stories and experiences from Bhagwan, which all have lessons and morals for all of us. But making it clear that this poor soul is a nobody. And Who is everybody but Bhagwan and the devotion you have for him? Therefore, you have collected yourself today at 8 p.m. Central and come here to listen to me. So I want to start. I know my title is big and large, but I wanted to talk about my connection with Bhagwan. And I want to start off with how I came to his feet, how he decided one fine day, he decided that I must be at his lotus feet. It was 1981, and Bhagwan was visiting New Delhi. And he was staying at one of our family friends' house by the name of Colonel Berry. It so happened my elder brother and my mom were in the city. And so Colonel Berry invited them into their house and said, hey, you must meet Sri Satya Sai Baba. So my mother and brother arrived there. They were sitting in the living room sipping coke, just like as you would in anybody's living room. And Bhagwan gracefully walked out of a room after giving an interview to a family. He came straight to my mother as if he knew her all along. And he said, Ma, kab aaya? Aur dusra beta kyun nahi leke aaya? He said in Hindi, which means, Mother, when did you arrive? And why did you not get your second son and come too? And then before my mother was flabbergasted, she was overcome with emotion. And before she could even answer, he said, bring both your sons to Puttaparthi. I will give admission. So obviously we did not even know where was Puttaparthi, that there was a state by the name of Andhra Pradesh, and that Bhagwan had a school and a college there. But my mother was so moved by that experience that she just bundled both of us to Prashanti Nilayam. And there started our story with Bhagwan. To give you a little bit of background about my family has been a military family for generations. Therefore, I was shortlisted to be in the Indian Military Academy and would have been an officer in the officer corps, just like anybody in my family, had not Bhagwan arrived in my life. We were also very avid musicians. My grandmother was a classical piano player, taught me piano when I was 4 years of age. And as I came to Bhagwan, he had his plans for me. Plans for me, an opportunity for me. Because what do I have here in North America? That bridge across time. That bridge is the bhajans we sing to Bhagwan. And he wanted to provide me that bridge so that I could have a forever connection with him, as we all have when we sing bhajans. So just to cut a long story short, I arrived, we got admission, and Bhagwan, I want to focus. I have so many experiences, I don't know where to start, but I want to focus on the music part of my interaction with Bhagwan. And so when I started, I was in grade 11 and I asked Swami, can I play harmonium in the mandir? And he said, sure, start playing. And I started playing harmonium in the mandir. And then one day, Bhagwan called me in front of VIP, the VIPs in the portico in the mandir. And if people who have visited Parthi remember, there was a gentleman by the name of Khayal Das who would sit there. And I was also portly, had baby fat like Khayal Das. And so I would sit next to him. Bhagwan would call me, talk to me every day. And so many times he would come out of the interview room and he would say, looking at Khayal Das, he would say, Bada Pakoda? And he would look at me and say, Chota Pakoda. And this was every day. So one day he suddenly decided to call me in front of all the VIPs. So he called me up. And remember, I'm 15 years old in grade 11 and I'm very immature. So he calls me up in the front and he says, what is your name? So Bhagwan knows my name. So I don't know why he's asking me my name. So I say, Swami, my name is Bharat. So what is the meaning of Bharat? He asks me. And I say, Bhagwan, it means Rama's brother. He says, no, Dona what is the meaning, Sanskrit meaning of the word Bharat? And then I said, Swami, the next nearest answer was Dushyant's son. And as I said that, he looked at the VIPs and he said, "Look at this boy. His own mother didn't tell him the meaning of his name, but Saima will tell him the meaning of his name. Bharat means Bhava, Raga, and Tala. So now it is time for you to sing bhajans and learn music." And he called, at that time we had a music teacher by the name of Pandit Srivastava. He called him ahead and said, "Put this boy in your vocal classes." And that's how I began my journey to sing bhajans. And my journey to sing bhajans was not easy. We had lots of opportunities. As an instrumentalist, I had lots of opportunities. But as a bhajan singer, it took me almost 5 years to get the opportunity to sing, sit in front of Bhagwan and sing a bhajan inside the mandir. And for that, I don't know if Murli remembers, me and Ganesh Nath and Sai Suranath would sing Suprabhatam every day. I did that for 5 years every day at 4:45 a.m. Therefore, for me to do riyaz in the morning, I had to get up at 3:45, walk all the way to our college campus about a mile away, go to the roof and do my riyaz and come back every day for 5 years. But as Bhagwan says, you have to work hard to be able to get where you want to be. You want to be able to sing in front of the Lord himself. You cannot just be a bathroom singer. So in all these experiences with Bhagwan, since I was very much interested in Hindustani music, but my title talks a little bit about Carnatic and Sri Thyagaraja. And I was a little interested because I didn't know who this guy was. Who is Thyagaraja? And Bhagwan used to talk about him, about his devotion to Rama. And so one day we were sitting in the bhajan hall and he started talking about Thyagaraja. And his motivation to talk to you about something was to teach you a lesson. And to us, it was to teach us bhajan singers, what is the epitome of a bhajan singer? Why do you sing bhajans? How should you sing bhajans? And who do you sing it to? So Bhagwan started talking about Sri Thyagaraja. And of course, all of us know that Purandara Dasa is the father of Carnatic music. But there were 3 people after him who actually expanded Carnatic music. And one of them was Sri Thyagaraja. And he was talking to us about his early life and how he married first and his wife died. He was issueless. He married second time. He had a daughter. And then he started talking about his love for music. And at that time, the Muslims invaded the Vijayanagara Empire and destroyed it. And therefore, a lot of Telugu people from that area had to move south to Tanjore. I think it's called differently nowadays, but at that it was called Tanjore. It had a Maratha king, and the Maratha king had a music teacher by the name of Santi Venkatramaya. And what Thyagaraja would do every day is pass this house where he was teaching his disciples music. And he would do that every day, listen to his lessons. And one day he was passing Mr. Venkatramaya's house and he heard him pose a difficult question to his disciples. And these disciples could not answer. And Mr. Thyagaraja from outside the compound raised his voice and said, "I know the answer," and gave him the answer. And that started his journey towards music with his music guru, Santi Venkatramaya. His love for Ram was so great. We have heard so many stories about it. So one day his elder brother's name was Japesan, decided that he should utilize his talent to make money. So he sent an emissary to the king, Raja Sarobji, and said, "We want to display the talent of Sant Thyagaraja in your court. Give us an opportunity." And when an emissary came with gifts to Sant Thyagaraja, he refused to go to the court. So his elder brother got so angry that he took all his Rama idols and threw them into the Ganges. And this really pained Thyagaraja a lot. And then he started composing a lot of mellifluous hymns of what we have heard. And so Thyagaraja was known very much for his devotion to Rama. So let's sing a Rama bhajan, which I can remember now, composed by one of my co-students. Ram kaho, Sai Ram kaho, Shyam kaho, Ghan Shyam kaho, Ram kaho, Sai Ram kaho, Shyam kaho, Ghan Shyam kaho, यीशु कहो, जोराष्ट्र कहो, एक विधाता साई कहो, यीशु कहो, जोराष्ट्र कहो, एक विधाता साई कहो, मंदिर में कभी मस्जिद में, मंदिर में कभी मस्जिद में, अपना हृदय में साई भगवान, अपना हृदय में साई भगवान, राम साई राम कहो, श्याम कहो, घन श्याम कहो. If you listen to this bhajan, it is the Rama bhajan. The root Lord being worshipped is Rama, but it is also a Sarva Dharma bhajan, a very integral part of Bhagwan's teachings. So when I look back and I wonder, why am I with Bhagwan? Why are there so many billions of people who don't know about him, who live in this world? There are 8 billion people who live in this world. But why did he choose me? And I can only think of one thing, and that is the karma accumulated by my parents. I remember as a little child in the army camp, my mother would take me every Tuesday to the Hanuman Mandir. Hanuman is our Ish Devata. And every Friday she would take me to the masjid. And every Thursday I would be at the Gurdwara. She was always connected with God. She always wanted to be with God. She always wanted to find God. And she found him. And because of her, I found God. We found God. And so bhajan is very important piece of our connection with Bhagwan. And here I want to share a couple of experiences with you which I had while I was in Prashanti Nilayam. One day, Bhagwan called 2 of us in the interview room and started talking about spirituality, spiritual growth, and how to reach the Lord. And he started talking about Treta Yuga and Dwapar Yuga and how ascetics went to the Himalayas and meditated. And he said in Kali Yuga, it is not possible to go to the Himalayas and meditate and reach the Lord. The best way to reach the Lord is through bhajan, he said. And then he looked at me and said, you see how you sing the bhajan? And you are mesmerized by that? The only thing you have to do, Bharat, is go from 5 seconds to eternity. But there is the power of the bhajan, Bhagwan said. In 5 seconds, you reach God. You've forgotten about everything, but you're thinking about him. And so Bhagwan was always talking to us about the reason we are singing bhajan. And when we were sitting I remember in the interview room, there were only 2 of us, me and Anil Patle. And I asked Bhagwan, and I said, Bhagwan, when I'm a beginner singer, I have these distractions. How do I focus my mind on you? Because bhajan is all about devotion, right? And Bharat is all about bhava. It starts with the bhava. So I said, Bhagwan, so many distractions. What do I do? He says, practice, practice. Practice the rag and practice the tal so much that it becomes second nature to you. And so when you sing bhajan in front of Bhagwan, the only thing you're focusing on is bhava. Forget about all those people sitting behind you. Forget about the millions of people who are listening to you in the loudspeaker. You are singing for Bhagwan. This reminds me of another story. One day, I came early to Prashanti Mandir, and I came and sat inside in front, and Bhagwan came early for darshan. But instead of going out, he walked into the interview room, into the bhajan hall. And the moment he walked in, he saw me and he said, what are you doing here so early? And I said, and why are you sitting in the front? He said. I said, Swami, I finished my class early, so I came early. And I sit in the front because I'm a bhajan singer. Then he looked at me and said, Singera, Sinnera. He looked at me, and as soon as he said that, the ladies' side is full, they come early, and everybody started laughing. And then he said, shh, Noor Musko. He told all the ladies. And he said, this boy is part-time singer, part-time sinner. You are all full-time sinners. He said. He was just being nice to me. But that's what he was teaching us, that bhajan is our connection to Bhagwan. And you can just pull him by that rope. Just pull him, and he has no other choice but to come to you. You don't have to go to him. He can come to you. So before I can tell you the story about this rope, I want to tell you about a little bit of infatuation I had when I was a young boy. I always thought that I wanted Bhagwan to create a watch for me, And I was always enamored when somebody came out of the interview room door with a watch. And so we got many interviews with Bhagwan by his grace. And every time when we were sitting with the family in the inner interview room door, Bhagwan would look at me and ask me, Bharat, what do you want? And I would say, Swami, I want to watch. And then he would look at my mom and he would ask my mom, Ma, kya chahiye? What do you want? And she would say, Swami, I want you. And then he would give me a slap on my head and say, see, that is what you need to ask for. You have a kalpataru here and you're asking for watch. And this happened, and then he would turn around and he created gold earrings for my mother. Second time we were in an interview, it was the same story. Bhagwan asked me, I forgot. What do you want? I asked for watch. Then he asked my mother, what did she want? And she said, Swami, I want you. And he would hit me on my head and say, see, right answer. And then he would create a locket for my brother. The third time, my father got a ring. The fourth time, a non-family member got a ring. So I finally decided, this is not a good technique. I should change my strategy here. So the next time Bhagwan called me for an interview and asked me, Bharat, what do you want? I said, Bhagwan, I want you. And he gave me 2 slaps on my forehead and said, Donga, do you really mean it? He said. And then he proceeded to create a ring for someone. Years down the road, I forgot about this experience. And I got late for bhajan one day. And as I was coming in, the last bhajan was going on. And I sat in front of the garage. And at that time, Bhagwan was giving me what we called, what did we call it, Murli? I think I'm trying to remember. Cold shoulder. Deep freeze, you can call it whatever you want. But Bhagwan stopped talking to me. and for no apparent reason. And I was feeling very, very bad about it. And I came late, and it was so bad that sometimes when I would sit at a particular spot in the veranda, boys would come and say, Bharat, please don't sit here. If you sit here, Bhagwan will not come. Can you sit on the other side, please? So it was pretty bad. 6 months I had cold shoulder from Bhagwan. I was late that day. I sat in front of the garage. I remember very clearly. I sat in front of the garage and closed my eyes, enjoying the last bhajan. And I thought in the innermost recesses of my heart, Bhagwan, it doesn't matter if you don't talk to me. It doesn't matter if you don't give me a watch. I love you unconditionally and forever. And it was probably 10 seconds moment. And as soon as I opened my eyes, it's the last bhajan. Bhagwan takes Aarti and goes inside. But Bhagwan was outside. He came behind to the garage and he calls me. He says, come here. Do you know your parents are coming tomorrow? I said, no, Swami. They are coming tomorrow. I am telling you, they are coming tomorrow. I will give interview. Don't go to college. Come to the mandir. I said, yes, Swami. He created vibhuti for me, put it on my forehead. Next morning I arrived, we gave interview. And Bhagwan asked me, what do you want? And I said, I want nothing, Bhagwan. I want you. He says, now you are ready for that watch. And he moved his hand and he gave me a watch. And he said, watch your words, your actions, your thought, your character, and your heart. So he wanted me to be ready for all those things before I had that watch. And the athlete I was, I broke 2-3 watches and I got 4 watches from Bhagwan. It is his blessing. It is his connection. And it is his lesson to me how omniscient and omnipotent he is. So going back to the rope story, I fell sick. And I'm not sure if it was malaria or viral fever, but I fell sick in the hospital. And I remember very clearly, I was in first year undergrad. And the doctor told me, you need to not go to the darshan. You need bed rest. I'm going to give you some tablets for fever, some antibiotics. You cannot go for darshan. So I stayed behind as all the boys went for darshan. All the boys came back and they said, Bharat, do you know what happened? I said, no. Well, your parents were there and they got interview along with your brother. So that really unnerved me. And I said, I have to get to darshan tomorrow. So I went to the doctor and I said, sir, I need your permission. I've taken the tablets. My fever is down. My parents are getting interview. I must go for darshan. And the physician said, no, you are infectious. It's the second day. You are infectious for 3 days. You cannot go. So I had to stay back. The boys came back the next day and they asked me again, Bharat, do you know what happened? I said, don't tell me. He said, yes, your parents and your brother got an interview. So this time I went to the warden and I said, warden sir, you got to give me this opportunity. I'm missing interviews with Bhagwan. So the warden said, no can do. If the physician says fever and you're infectious, you're not going. So I had to stay in my room. The boys came back. And of course you all know the answer. My parents and my brother got a third interview, back to back. So then I decided I have to break all these rules. I must go. So I decided to go to darshan. I went to darshan, and because I was still feverish and walking slow, I couldn't walk with the line because I was doing something illegal. So I had to wait for all the boys to leave, and I walked after. And Bhagwan came early, even before the boys reached. So way before I reached the bhajan hall. And Bhagwan had already called the people for interview, and he had called my parents and brother for a 4th interview in a row. So I was really flabbergasted. I was upset and I was crying. And Sonam Bhai was there, I remember, and he gave me the harmonium. He said, You sing the second bhajan. After I sing Ganesh bhajan, you sing second bhajan. And so I sang a bhajan for Bhagwan with all the fervor I was feeling for missing those interviews. I sang this bhajan in Sivaranjani. Sai Govinda, Sai Gopala, Sai Govinda, Sai Gopala. Tere bina Sai sab hai andhera, Tere bina Sai sab hai andhera. Sai Govinda, Sai Gopala. Tere bina sab hai andhera. Without you there is darkness. De lo mujhe Sai sharan tumhari. Take me to your feet, Lord. Dijo mere Prabhu darshan tumhare. Give me your darshan. आओ मेरे साई मन मंदिर में. I meant mandir, not man mandir, but mandir. आओ मेरे साई मन मंदिर में. आओ मेरे साई मन मंदिर. As I finished the bhajan and I was crying, people were handing me their handkerchief. And Sonam Bhai tapped me on my shoulder and he says, look. And I looked up. One of the things you have to remember when Bhagwan gave interview, when the door closed, it didn't open until the interview was done. But here they were in the middle of the interview room door. The door was open. And my brother was standing and he was calling me, come inside. Something which never ever happens. And so I, lock, stock and barrel, left the harmonium and ran inside. I sat down. Bhagwan was talking to a number of families. He ignored me completely. When it came time for a private interview for the Dutt family, we were called inside. I was pressing his feet. He ignored me completely. He was talking to my father about his retirement and all the planning he had to do to come and settle in Prashanti Nilayam. And when finally at the end of the interview room, when he started giving vibhuti to all of us, he looked at my mother and he said, Ma, dekho tumhara beta itna acha gaya. Your son sang so well. My intention was not to have him in this interview also. But he pulled me with so much devotion that I had to call him in. So the lesson for us here, ladies and gentlemen, is not that I am a great singer, but any one of us, when we call with the purity of devotion, he will show up at your doorstep, in your heart, in Southern America, as we are talking about him. And that is the beauty of our Lord. He is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. He always has been. And he taught us these lessons that bhajan is not me singing in my home all alone, but comprises of bhaja, which is worship, and jana, and people. So what is bhajan? But all these souls connecting to the Lord when we sing a bhajan. Connecting to the Lord and changing the vibration, changing the energy. Because who is Bhagwan but energy? The positive, vibrant energy in our lives. And this is what he was teaching us all the time. How do we go from that 5 seconds to eternity? And the easiest way to do it, Bhagwan says, is through bhajan. So here I again pause and I want to share with you some other stories which I had an opportunity to interact with him, to talk about his very pure nature about his giving nature. He never ever wanted anything for himself. Whatever he had, he gave it to other people, including his time. When I was in grade 11, 15 years old, grade 12, 16 years old, I did not have the knowledge or the wisdom to understand the great opportunity I had of doing Bhagwan's door duty, to come to a young boy of 15, to be there in the room, to see him come downstairs, be the first to see him come downstairs, to talk to him, to make sure his pan was there, to make sure his water was there, to make sure his handkerchief was there. I did not understand, but now I do. One of the things Bhagwan told me one day in the stairwell was, 1 car, responsibility. 2 car, headache. 3 car, migraine. And this is exactly how we are. We are in America. Many of us have 3 cars. It's a headache, it's a migraine. Take it for oil change, tire rotation, this, that. Bhagwan knew all that. This poor soul did not know all that. But he had the luck and the opportunity to be there at the right place at the right time. So because of Bhagwan, I got an opportunity to interact with a lot of musicians. I mean, who I am? A nobody. But because of Bhagwan, Bhagwan used to reward musicians. You know, he used to encourage great musicians to come to Prashanti and perform, would give them money and shawls, and because of that, we got an opportunity too. So one of my Kodaikanal trips, I remember, it was Tamil New Year's Day. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember it was Tamil New Year's Day. Because, you know, I was singing a very complicated bhajan, and Bhagwan came and hit me on the head and said, "Hey, ye Tamil Nadu hai. Hindi mat gao, Namavali gao," he said. See, that's important. You have to be able to sing what people understand, right? And we have to also enunciate and pronounce things properly. He was very, very big on that. Because if we sing, "Love is my forum, truth is my breath," that is going to completely take away the beauty of the English bhajan, right? The same thing, if I sing Hindi in a Tamil speaking state, no one's going to understand and have that feeling towards Bhagwan. So he was telling me to sing Namavali. We finished bhajans. There was a new bhajan hall we had constructed. And suddenly he looked up and he said, "Malaysia, kab aaya?" he said. And here got up from the devotees side, Mr. Malaysia Vasudevan, one of a prominent devotional singer in southern India. "Idhar aao, come up," he said. And he says, "What a great opportunity," he said, looking at him. "Tamil New Year's Day and you are here. You must perform," he said. "This is the first day of our bhajan hall. You must perform," he said. And Bhagwan was like this very much. There were many times, if there were plans, they were all topsy-turvy. Or if there were no plans, there was a plan. So he decided that there was going to be a musical concert with Malaysia Vasudevan. So Mr. Vasudevan folded his hand and said, "Bhagwan, we cannot have this concert. I did not bring my musicians with me." And he looked at Mr. Vasudevan and said, "Don't worry, my boys are there," he said. And he told all of us, Sanjeev Popat to play tabla, me to play harmonium, and Sundar Iyer to accompany accompanying vocalist with the talam. You have to remember, in this Kodaikanal trip, I was in grade 12, I was 16 years old. Not a lot of confidence for a 16-year-old. My first ever performance on a stage in front of 100,000 people. So understandably, I was nervous. I came to Bhagwan, I touched his feet, and he looked at me, he touched my foot, said, "Kya sweat kar raha hai? Why are you sweating?" He said. I couldn't say anything. I said, "Swami, I will play harmonium." I went up on the stage, and Malaysia Vasudevanji went to Bhagwan, took namaskar. Swami put a hand on his shoulder, pulled him towards him, and whispered something in his ear. He sat down, and we started. He sang beautiful. I mean, I still don't know Tamil, but he sang beautifully. Beautiful bhajans and Sindhu Bhairavi, Ahir Bhairav. It was an amazing concert. And every once in a while, before he started the bhajan, he would lean towards me and I would say, "Son, I'm going to sing in Sindhu Bhairavi." And he would sing. The concert was beautiful. Swami was very pleased. He got up and he created a ring for Mr. Malaysia Vasudevan. He created vibhuti for all of us, blessed all of us. And I forgot about this incident in Kodaikanal. Many years later, I think almost 5 years later, there was a birthday program for Bhagwan in the Purnachandra Auditorium. And there were many musicians, singers, vocalists, artists in that program, in that concert, including Mr. Vasudevan. And we were rehearsing at the back of Purnachandra Auditorium. And for some reason, I remembered this incident. And so I asked him, in between our rehearsal, I asked him, I came up to him and I said, "Mr. Vasudevan, do you remember 1985, 84, when we were in Kodaikanal and, you came up and there was an instantaneous music program which you gave and I played harmonium?" "Oh yeah, of course I remember. Swami gave me this ring. He showed me his ring. I still have it." Then I said, "Mr. Vasudevan, when you were taking namaskar before the concert, Bhagwan whispered something in your ear. What did he say?" And Mr. Vasudevan said, "Oh, he was talking about you. He said, this harmonium boy is nervous. Just tell him the raga before you sing." So Bhagwan is so gracious. He knows your talent and your capability, even more so than we do. But he also takes care of details. Takes care that you succeed. What do we learn about leadership today? We learn about leadership that leadership is for others. We call it servant leadership. Leadership for not for you, for others. It's not my way or the highway. It's leadership for others. That was what Bhagwan was an embodiment of. He was a leadership for others. He wanted others to succeed. He wanted others to bring up their spiritual levels. And this is what he did day in and day out, day in and day out. We had some great times with Bhagwan, and many times he would push us to do different things. We had opportunity to perform with Mr. Maynard Ferguson, who is a jazz trumpeter in the band and also in concerts in front of Bhagwan, and I got a chance to play piano. And so one day, Mr. Maynard Ferguson got the cold shoulder. Swami stopped talking to him for many days. And so he came to our warden and he said he knew that Bhagwan was coming to the hostel. So he asked us if he could please come to the hostel to have Swami's darshan. And that so happened that day Bhagwan decided to start talking to him again. So he was sitting on his swing and he looked at him and he said, "Ferguson, music's enough." He said, "Make us listen to some music." So Mr. Ferguson took his trumpet and he started playing the blues. And blues goes like, "Satta Sai Baba, why don't you talk to me?" He started like this. And Swami was like reaping, in laughter. And he was laughing his head out. And then he looked at us and he said, "Boys, this Ferguson guy, he shows off a lot. So I want you to sing an English song." And we said, "Swami, we cannot sing. We don't know how to compose an English song, let alone sing." He says, No, I want you to sing for the next, I want you to sing an English song." And that's the beautiful story of golden days, happy days. That's how we all got together. A lot of Nepali boys on the guitar, us on our keyboards, and we composed golden days, happy days in our music room. So Bhagwan always was there to push us. And I want to speak to I've spoken to a lot of people nowadays, and people are very nervous because of the COVID-19 virus, the coronavirus. People don't understand the uncertainty of it all. But I can tell you with great faith, if you hold his hand, he will lead you, and nothing is going to happen to anybody. One day I was sitting in the interview room, and I can't remember the exact incident, but it was about a complaint about me. And Bhagwan was trying to remind me about that complaint through different people, but not telling me directly. So when I was in the interview room alone with him, I confronted him and I said, Bhagwan, you can just ask me directly. Why are you sending all these different people to tell me what my problem is? This was a relationship we had with Bhagwan. And Bhagwan looked at me and he said, Bharat, I'm testing you, son. I'm testing you. So then I said to him, Bhagwan, I'm not Sage Agastya. I'm Bharat Dutt, your student. Why are you testing me? I will fail. And he looked at me and says, no, you will not fail. You will not fail because I am in you, with you, around you, now and forever. And I remember these things sitting across Kalapani in North America, in a place where I thought I would never be, where I thought I would never be singing bhajans. Here I am in front of you, speaking about those times and singing those bhajans. So I want to sing to you a song where we get inspiration about how we should have total faith in him, hold his hand, let him lead the way. And I'm going to end with this English song. I'm going to move things a little bit so I can get close to my piano so people can hear the song. So it's an acoustic version. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take. Dear Lord, take my hand. Take my hand and lead the way. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Dear Lord, take my hand. Take my hand and lead the way. I'll never forget you. You'll always be with me. Dear Lord, take my hand. Take my hand and lead the way. I'll never forget you. You'll always be with me. You'll always be with me, dear Lord. Take my hand. Take my hand and lead the way. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Dear Lord, take my hand. Take my hand and lead the way. Teach me loving service, peace and contentment, dear Lord. Take my hand and lead the way. Teach me loving service, peace and contentment, peace and contentment, dear Lord. Take my hand and lead the way. Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Dear Lord, take my hand, take my hand, take my hand, and lead the way. Thanks, Murli.
Beautiful, beautiful, Bharat. Fantastic. I have one question actually to go with. We still have few more minutes. In Malaysia, Vasudevan experience is phenomenal, because Swami knew that you were physically nervous and still wanted to go and perform, support Vasudevan. And knowing you that you're nervous, Swami has given inputs to Vasudevan how to deal with that one or handle. But similarly, in Puttaparthi or any other occasions in front of Swami, there are so many major festivals happened. You accompanied so many people. Has Swami prepared you before that program? Like, has he given you inputs, for a specific occasion, how you have to do it? For example, the Tamil New Year, when the population is more Tamilians, his Swami said, okay, you have to sing only this kind of songs, not a Hindi or, long words, something like that.
Yes.
Similarly, for major occasions, when different groups of people are coming, or if you are performing with, a group of accomplished artists outside world,
Yes.
has Swami given you any inputs and something like that?
Always, because we had the great opportunity to do rehearsal in front of him. So many times the rehearsal would be either in the interview room or in the hostel or in the college auditorium. So there was always this vetting process about not only who is singing, but what are they singing. But depending on the occasion, so whether it's Ram Navami or Krishna Janmashtami or Christmas, Swami was always vetting us with every detail. But that didn't stop him from changing everything in the last moment also. So he would vet everything, we would have 9 different songs, ready to go. And after the first song, Swami would come up to one of the singers and say, I want you to sing this. And that was not the 9 songs we had rehearsed. So Bhagwan was a master in challenging us, but he also knew what our capability was. He also knew, and he was also, he was vibrant energy, and he would like to go with the flow, So I understood from that viewpoint. And that's what I try to take in my learning with him also is, many times I will think about a bhajan I'm going to sing, but when I'm sitting in the hall, and depending based on who sang before me and who's singing after me, what is that exact vibration at that time, I change my bhajan. So Bhagwan was always of, that kind of energy. He was always into the moment, encouraging us and telling us what to do, what not to do. Did I answer your question or?
And you did answer. Very good, actually. Because the way how you yourself will change the songs based on that moment. And Swami, okay, he's the master, so he can change that one.
Yes.
I experienced the same thing like for 2003 when we launched the Bridge Across Time. We prepared a huge list of songs and finally Swami shortlisted only these songs to be sung. All of a sudden he said, okay, why are you not singing it? So whomever he has cut off that song, he said, why are you not singing? So it's always like that. Yeah.
Everything we do, is we are Katputli. In Hindi we say Katputli. We are puppets, and he's pulling the strings. He's always there. The last time I sang bhajan in front of Bhagwan was in 2008, and this was we had prepared a beautiful music program. And I was going to sing Qawwali, and there was a lot of excitement going on about the Qawwali, and there were so many bhajan singers there at that time. There were 28 bhajan singers. In 2008, we sat in front of Bhagwan in the chair, and Sonam Bhai at that time had taught me his composition. Sarvanam Swarupam Sai Baba He had taught me this composition. So he asked me, "You should sing in front of Bhagwan." And I said, "Sonam bhai, 28 bhajan singers. I am singing Kawali, Big Bang Kawali in front of Bhagwan. Why don't you give somebody else a chance?" And he insisted. He said, "No, no, no. You must sing this bhajan." And he said, I am number 3 on the list. So you take my number. He gave me his bhajan. I sang Sarvanama Swarupam in front of Bhagwan. And as soon as I finished my bhajan, Bhagwan got up, took Aarti, and went. There was no musical concert. So it was his last blessing and opportunity to me to sing in front of him. Not only to me, but to Sonam Bhai and his new composition.
Amazing, man. Actually, because I was there in Patti with Swami, so I know how Swami loves students and students love for Swami. So when you're talking, actually, I'm getting goosebumps. No, personally, I really enjoyed it, and I got some messages also saying that okay, they are really enjoying it. They're looking forward to listen to you more and more.
Thanks, Murli.
For want of time, actually, with this, I would pass on to Brother Mahesh to thank you and express his observations or feelings. Brother Mahesh.
Sairam, everyone. On behalf of Sai Region 10, my sincere gratitude to Swami for arranging to have Brother Bharat tonight to talk to us on the topic Deep Ocean, Thyagaraja, Sai, and much more, a student and his muse. Brother Bharat, you filled our hearts with so much love by your enchanting musical rendering, sharing all your stories and experiences with our omnipresent Sai. I would like to take this opportunity to summarize a few things that have stuck in my mind. First, you started out with how you came to Swami through the first interaction your mother had with him in Delhi. And then after you came to Puttaparthi, during an interaction with Swami, he explained to you the meaning of your name and how it relates to bhava, raga, and tala. And then with that, he inducted you into vocal classes to develop your musical talents. And then you narrated how spirituality is very important. And that's what Swami taught you during one of your later interactions. And you learned that the best way to reach the Lord is through bhajans. So we should all focus our mind on the Lord while singing. And there is no substitute for practice. We need to practice our rag, tal, and get bhava. And once we have bhava, then there is no way that Swami will not come in front of us. And you narrated that with another beautiful incident where Swami asked you what you want. And when you said you want to watch a few times, he did not give you one. But when you showed true yearning through your bhajan, Sai Govinda, Sai Gopala, immediately he called you and recognized your yearning, and gave you what you wanted. So this is the yearning that we should all have for Swami, no matter what work we do. And the other thing you shared was any one of us anywhere can call him with the same yearning. We don't necessarily have to be in India and Puttaparthi. We can do that here. And if we have that devotion and that yearning that we can call him with, he will definitely come and show us his presence. You also shared how Swami had a very pure and giving nature, and he took care of all the details for his students. And the incident that I remember is when singer Malaysia Vasudevan visited, he recognized that you were a little nervous. So he asked Malaysia Vasudevan to tell you ahead of time what raga he was going to sing, so you could prepare ahead of time. So Bhagwan is indeed very gracious in taking care of all the details, and he really wants all of us to succeed in all of our endeavors. And if we ask for his help, he's right there to help us. And last but not the least, you shared how to have total faith in Bhagwan. And you shared that the best way to do that is just hold his hand and let him lead the way. So it was a really wonderful talk with great musical rendering. This hour just flew by so fast, but I hope it's only a preview of a longer session to come. So once again, I would like to offer my most sincere gratitude to Swami for arranging this wonderful evening with you, Brother Bharat, and to you for spending your evening with us. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Brother Murli for any concluding thoughts and announcements. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you, Bharat. We definitely want to listen to you again and again. And one good thing is you are from our region only. So we can plan more activities and more musical concerts or whatever it is actually. But your experiences, particularly, how Swami reciprocate to our devotion, our love, those are phenomenal. Thank you. With this, we conclude this session.